A lot of weird comments about the stash up front, guys. I'm not gonna lie. My favorite part so far is Raj trash talk Parma, and my trash friends from Garbage Town were like, "That's us. He's not gonna get away with it," and yelled no. I got the vaccine recently. Anyone in here have the vaccine? Wow. I scheduled an appointment. I went on the website for the Wolstein Center because I wanted to go where everybody else was going. And I got the appointment at 9 for 10, and I went in and I got it, and they sit you down real quick and you get in this chair, and I was so pumped to get the vaccine that the dude with the cart came down and he was just like, "What arm do you want it in?" And I said, "You don't even have to put it in my arm, brother." And he just kind of looked at me and was like, "I'm going to put it in the left arm. I'm going to do that." Because he's done like 10,000 of these and nobody's ever said that. And then I was like, I'm just not going to talk to him anymore. And so he finishes the vaccine stuff, and then he goes, "Hey man, enjoy the superpowers." And I go, "Really?" And he was like, "No, get the hell out of here, dude. You suck." I'm just going to tell you guys about my favorite movie. Okay. Has anyone in here seen the movie Herbie Goes Bananas? Tepid reply, perfect. Because I'm going to walk you through the entire plot. This movie starts off in Mexico. There's a Volkswagen, if you don't know, Herbie's a Volkswagen Beetle that just does whatever it wants. It's beautiful. This movie takes place in Mexico. The one before it, Paris. The one before it, America. How does it get around? Nobody knows. But these two guys that were in none of the other movies are like, "Hey, we have this Beetle now. Let's go get it." So they go to Mexico. They pick up the Beetle. First thing they do, they put it on a cruise ship to take it back to America because that's where the story was supposed to start. And things go awry. Almost immediately. So this Beetle gets on the cruise ship, and beetles are a lot like dogs where if you put them out on the open sea, they get all jittery. He's looking at me because he's like, "I don't know if that's true," and I don't either, but I just said it. And now we're here. But the Beetle goes, it loses its, I don't know if mind is the right word, but it loses it, and it just destroys this beautiful dinner party that the captain had set, and he's pretty flustered. So they capture the Beetle, and they put it on its back on a wooden plank with like 30 crewmen to throw it in the ocean. Did you hear what I just said? This is 15 minutes into the movie, and they're going to throw the main character into the open sea. It's a Volkswagen Beetle. Those don't traditionally swim. They don't do well in the ocean. So you're watching it, and you're like, "Oh, this movie, it's a short film. It's going to end now." Or the rest of it's just going to be about two dudes talking about how they had a Volkswagen Beetle. Boy, was I wrong. This thing swims from literally the middle of the ocean, and what is my favorite part of the movie is it goes through a water lock at one point, and the guys working it are like, "Should we let it through?" And they're like, "I guess, welcome to Mexico." And it just goes through a water lock, and then it gets like legitimately 5 feet from shore. Like from me to you is how close this thing is to the shore, and I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna make it." And that's when he's like, "I don't think I'm gonna make it." But a small Mexican child is there. And he just gets in the water and he just goes, "Come on. Come on." And he gets to the shore and he's like dead or sad, and he gets to the end and his tires go out. Most cars don't get sad. This car, very sad. And the tires go out, so you know it's sad, and you're like, "Now I'm bummed." And so this small child with the strength of 10,000 men is trying to cheer the car up. And then just like a pack of roving miners come by with pickaxes. They come by with literal pickaxes, and they're like, "We're going to take apart your car." And I was like, "Have you ever dismantled a car? That's not how you do that traditionally." And so the boy tells the car to believe in himself. And his tires come back up, and you're like, "Oh, it's go time." And the boy gets in the car, and they drive off. And my favorite thing about this movie is, like, halfway through writing it, somebody was like, hey, did you see Indiana Jones? And the guy was like, uh-huh. And they were like, we should put that movie in this movie. And all the main characters are like, hey, what about the Aztec gold? And they're like, we haven't mentioned that for 40 minutes. And they're like, well, there's somebody trying to steal the Aztec gold. And they're like, well, we should look into that, shouldn't we? So they drive around Mexico, and now there's bad guys chasing them, and they drive into a bull ring. And this car fights a bull and the bad guys, and it wins not only the bullfight, but also the hearts and souls of the Mexican people. And you're looking at it, and you're like, okay, the movie's over. Not even close. We're in Act 2 of a 3-act movie. It's just getting started. It's called Herbie Goes Bananas. There hasn't been a single banana in it yet. And that's when the writers said, hey, the movie's called Herbie Goes Bananas, and we haven't put a single banana in it yet. We should do that, I think. They cover the car in bananas to disguise it from the bad guys. So at one point in the movie, there was a literal banana car driving on the road, and the bad guys went, you think that's them? No, it couldn't be. They're just transporting bananas. There's no way. I mean, look at it. Sure, it's shaped like a Volkswagen Beetle, but there's no way. When I watched this movie, I had COVID, and I was like, oh, it was a fever dream. And then 2 weeks later, I went back, and I was like, this is very real. It's the 4th installment in a franchise of movies that nobody asked to be made. And so they save the day, and they save the gold and everything, and the movie ends back on a cruise ship. Full circle. And so they're all talking together, and the Mexican boy's there now because he's the driver of the car. And they're going to race it, and he's not in any of the other movies after this. It's absurd. But they're on the boat, and they look at the kid, and they're like, hey, you've been calling this car Ocho all movie. Why is that? And for record, the car's number is 53. They're like, why are you calling him Ocho? And the kid just goes, because 5 plus 3 and 8, and in Spanish, that's Ocho. And then the movie ends. And it's the greatest thrill ride I've ever been on in my entire life. He said that, and I was like, where will they go next? And then the credits rolled, and I was just like, what? And I was bummed, because I was like, wow, it's the end of a franchise, it's the end of an era. And then I found out that in 2004, they made a sequel with Lindsay Lohan and Justin Long, because that was a romantic pairing that was going to work from the start. And they were like, what would it take for you to sit in a car for 90 minutes, Lindsay Lohan? And she was like, just a pile of cocaine. That is it. And they made it, and it's one of the worst movies ever made. If you get the chance, go home and watch Herbie Goes Bananas. Thank you so much, guys. I'm Joe Briggs.